This is my review of the Pedro Beretta. It's a 177 CO2 gas. It's a complete replica of its real cousin. It comes with a metal top slide, all your basic safety catch, hold and open device, also your front pin so you can remove the top slide to get inside to oil all the parts. It comes with 2 magazines. They hold 22 pellets in each chamber. It's a little bit of a hassle getting the pellets in. The weapon comes supplied with a device you use to push the pellets in, but I don't have that device. So what I'm using now is going to be a nail. It does the same thing, just not as good. So that's the magazines there. They both hold 22 pellets. This is the 177 pellets. The ones I've got are super point. I find they're the best for me, and they do the most damage when hitting targets because they've got the extra point. It's not just a round head on it. This is the CO2 gas cartridges you get with the weapon. When you buy it, I think you get one free with it. Basically quite good. You'll get about 40 to 50 shots out of your weapon before it's depleted, which is quite good, and it's only 89 pence for the actual CO2 gas canister. So I'll go over some parts of the weapon with you now. We have here the safety catch. We have here the hold and open device. This is so you can pull back the top slide, apply the hold and open device, and in real life it basically means you could look into the chamber and you'd be able to see if there was a round in the chamber. You can clean the chamber, and in real life when the weapon would finish firing, there was no rounds in the magazine, the top slide was set behind to let you know. You'd be able to look into the chamber, check it's clear, release it forward, fire off the action. It's got a good range on it. It's got a range up to 400 metres, which is quite good. It's a very powerful weapon. I'll do firing it later on. So basically, to use the weapon, I'll show you this later on in more in depth, but you put your CO2 gas canister into here. You just slide it in, lock this. By pushing this forward, it will break the vent, and the CO2 gas canister will be open, ready to go. You'll put your magazine in. None of these magazines are loaded, and there's no CO2 gas canister within the weapon. As I say, the weapon has a good weight to it. It's a complete replica. Everything about it is the exact same as Big Cousin, except from it doesn't fire live rounds. And the magazines and the CO2 gas canister part, and obviously the working parts within, but the body and shell do look like the real thing. Okay, to fire this weapon, what you do is you pull the top slide back and you release. What happens when you do that is it pushes the hammer to the rear, and in real life it would blow the round into the chamber, but because this is a CO2 gas and it uses a rotating magazine, what actually happens is when you pull it back, one of these chambers rotates and it will be sitting with the pellet inside the gun. All you do to fire it, obviously, is to pull the trigger, and then that will hit the switch, or what they say in real life, the firing pin, which will discharge the CO2 gas from the canister. You've got a pellet sitting in the chamber, it will discharge the gas will push the pellet, because of the pressure within the chamber, out sharply. There's also 2 firing modes. There's the double action firing mode, which is a little bit less accurate, which is basically pulling the trigger like that, looking down the sights, pulling the trigger like that. It's heavy, makes your trigger heavy, makes your aim a little bit harder because you've got that jump. And there's a second firing mode which is more accurate. And what you do is you pull the hammer all the way to the rear like that, and what you'll notice, if you can see it, is the trigger has come back a little bit. And in this firing mode, what you do is you take up the slack on the trigger and then you slowly just pull the trigger, bang, you'll hit your target. So I'll show you to do that again. You pull the hammer back, you take up the slack within the trigger, you slowly and gently, while holding your breath, fire at your target and hopefully you'll hit it. Okay, another part of this weapon is the safety catch. Unlike most normal weapons, you can't put the safety catch on when it's not cocked. I don't understand why, but it's just the design of this weapon. So basically, to apply the safety catch, you need to have the hammer back on the weapon. What you do is, you see the red dot there, that means it's ready to fire. You push the lever up, and that's the safety catch engaged, and the weapon won't fire. If however you change your mind and you want to make the weapon safe, while you have the safety catch on, pull the trigger and the hammer will move slightly forward. You can now remove the safety catch and you'll see the hammer go fully forward. The weapon will not fire at this time.